Hi friends, this is Alojin here. Welcome to my networking channel. Hope all are doing good and safe. And today let us discuss about OSPF authentication. So there are three types of authentication. Type 0 is a null authentication. That means there is no authentication between R1 and R2. Type 1 is a simple password authentication where passwords are sent in clear text. Type 2 is an MD5 authentication where passwords are encrypted using the hash algorithm. So it will be sending the cryptographic password. That is an encrypted password between R1 and R2. So today let us discuss about the simple password or the clear text authentication. So now let us go to the router R1 and R2. Let us configure the routing protocol OSPF, right? So let us go to R1, go to configuration mode, router OSPF 100. So after that, let us configure the simple password or a clear text authentication. So both the routers I'm going to configure in the backbone area, same area, right? So go to the configuration mode, router OSPF 100. Then network 192.168.1.0, 0.0.0.25 area 0. Right, I have enabled the routing protocol, that is OSPF. Now let us configure the authentication parameter. So this is the way I have to enable IP OSPF authentication. So that is for enabling the password authentication. Then I have to specify the clear text, right? So let us go here and configure it. So before that, now I want to show you debug IP OSPF packet. So this is for no authentication. Let us see. So now what we can do, see, you are able to see, right? It is showing authentication as 0 and the authentication router ID it will show us 0. That means it is a null authentication. See, you are able to see authentication ID it is showing us 0. So that means it is a null authentication. That means there is no authentication, right? So now I'm going to configure the authentication, right? So let us configure the authentication, plain authentication. So it will show the router ID as 1. So I have to configure the authentication in the fast Ethernet 0, right? It's not in the router mode. I have to configuration in the interface mode of the fast Ethernet 0. So let us go to the interface mode, fast Ethernet 0 by 0. Let us enable IP OSPF authentication. Then let us enable the authentication key. Authentication key, let us make it as hello. Similar authentication I have to configure here. Go to the fast Ethernet 0 interface, fast Ethernet 0 by 0. IP OSPF authentication followed by authentication key is hello. So both the routers I have to configure with the same password authentication, right? Otherwise it will not form a neighbor relationship with R2. So it will say mismatch authentication parameter. So now let us see now you're able to see authentication ID is 1. I told this is a type 1, right? So it is type 1 simple password. It is showing us authentication is 1. So if it is an MD5, it will show us authentication type is 2, right? So this is the difference between the null and the simple password authentication. So null authentication ID will be 0. So for simple password authentication ID will be 1. So that's the thing I want to show you. So now let us check the neighbor relationship. Show IP OSPF neighbor. So you're able to see, right, neighbor relationship established between R1 and R2. So if I configure any mismatch parameters, it will show there is a mismatch in the authentication. So since I configure the proper authentication key on both the R1 and R2, it is R1 is establishing a neighbor relationship with R2, right? So this is an example of a simple password authentication where passwords are sent in the clear text, right? I hope you understood. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe me for more videos. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.